Some stories are written in ink. Ours are written in fear. Welcome to Whisper Pen. Take a deep breath and let the darkness in.
They don't believe me. That's the first thing you need to know. The therapists with their fake sympathetic eyes, the social workers with their thick files, the cops with their tired faces. They nod. They take notes. They say things like, trauma can create false memories. False memories. Yeah, I'll show them a false memory. I'll carve it into the inside of their eyelids if I could, so they see what I see every time I close my eyes. They say my family wandered off into the woods and got lost. They say I was the only one who found my way out, so deep in shock and dehydration that my mind created a story to cope. The defense mechanism. What a load of crap. I know what happened. I was there. I smelled the sickeningly sweet sap. I heard the humming, and I saw the tree. Dear God, I saw the tree. It all started, as every Finch family misadventure did, with one of my dad's ideas. A road trip. My dad, Tom Finch, had announced a few weeks ago, holding up a crumpled travel brochure like it was the Declaration of Independence. Up the Oregon coast, through the Redwood National Forest. No phones, no tablets, no distractions. Just the Finch family and the open road. My mom, Carol, ever the voice of reason, had raised an eyebrow. Tom, the last time we went on a no distractions trip, I had to fix the minivan's carburetor with 2 forks in the middle of Nevada. That's bonding, honey. That's memories, my dad beamed. My 7-year-old sister Lily didn't care as long as she could bring Patches, a ratty stuffed rabbit she had loved into a state of near disintegration. I, Sam, 16, protested vehemently. A week without Wi-Fi. That wasn't a vacation. That was a human rights violation. But, as usual, my dad's golden retriever-like enthusiasm won out. And so, there we were, stuffed into our trusty silver Honda Odyssey, heading north towards our carefully scheduled doom.
The first days were deceptively normal. We listened to my dad's classic rock tapes. Lily sang to Patches. I stared out the window, marinating in teenage misery. Then we reached the redwoods. You see them on postcards, but it doesn't prepare you. They're not just trees. They're skyscrapers made of wood, living things that were here before Jesus wore sandals. They block out the sun, turning midday into a perpetual moss-green twilight. The air grows cold and still. Sound seems to be swallowed up by 1,000 tons of ancient timber. Isn't it incredible, kids? My dad whispered, as if we were in church. It's dark, my mom said, a note of unease in her voice. I just thought it was suffocating. It felt like driving through the throat of some sleeping monster. We were on the Avenue of the Giants, an old 2-lane road that winds through the heart of the forest. There were no other cars, no signs of life, just us and the silent giants. That's when the minivan died.
It didn't sputter or cough smoke. It just turned off. 1 second the radio was playing Hotel California. The next, total silence. The dashboard lights went dark. The engine cut out. Everything was dead. "Oh," my dad said, his voice losing his usual cheer. He tried the ignition. Nothing. Not even a click.
The car was completely dead, as if someone had just yanked the battery out.
"Okay, no problem," he said, trying to be optimistic. "Probably the alternator. I'll just walk up ahead a bit. There's bound to be a ranger station or a little town nearby."
"Tom, don't," my mom said, grabbing his arm. "It's getting dark, and we have no cell service."
"I won't go far, Carol. I'll stay in sight. You guys just lock the doors and wait here. I'll be right back."
And that was the last time I saw him. As himself, at least.
He started walking down the empty road, a small, lost figure beneath the colossal trees. We watched him until he rounded a bend and disappeared. An hour passed. The silence in the car became heavy. Lily started sniffling. My mom kept looking at her watch. I tried to pretend I wasn't scared.
"He said he'd stay in sight," my mom muttered for the 10th time.
"Maybe he found a place and is calling a tow truck," I said, but it sounded hollow even to me. The sun dipped below the treetops, and the darkness in the forest became thick, almost tangible. My mom tried the car's emergency flashers, but they were dead too. We were in near total blackness. "Okay, I'm going after him," my mom finally decided, her voice firm. "He can't be far." "Mom, no!" I protested. "Dad said to stay in the car." "I'm not leaving your father out there alone in the dark, Sam. You and Lily stay here, lock the doors. I'll call his name. We'll meet in the middle." She kissed me and Lily on the forehead, grabbed a flashlight from the glove compartment, and stepped out into the cold air. "Tom!" she yelled, her voice sounding so small. "Tom, where are you?" We heard her calls fade as she walked down the same road my dad had taken. Then nothing.
Now it was just me and Lily, locked in a dead metal box in the middle of an ancient forest. "Sam, I'm scared," Lily whimpered, clutching patches. "It's okay, Lily Pad," I lied, my voice shaking. "Mom and Dad will be right back." But they weren't. The next few hours were a blur of escalating fear. We'd hear noises outside, a twig snapping, a rustle in the undergrowth. My heart would leap into my throat every time. I kept staring out the window, hoping to see the beam of my mom's flashlight, but there was only impenetrable darkness. Around midnight, I had to pee. I didn't want to leave the car, but I had no choice. "Stay right here, Lily. I'll be right back," I whispered, grabbing my phone's weak flashlight, the battery at 10%. I stepped outside. The air was cold and smelled of damp earth, of rotting leaves, and something else. A sweet, almost incense-like smell, like pine sap, but richer, deeper. I shone my light into the tree line, and that's when I saw them. Lined up neatly under the base of a giant tree was a row of small wooden dolls. They were crudely carved, but unmistakably human-shaped. They were about a dozen of them, just standing there, silently watching the car. I felt the blood run cold in my veins. Who put them there? They weren't there before. I scrambled back into the car, slamming and locking the door. "What is it, Sam?" Lily asked, her eyes wide. "Nothing," I lied. "Just squirrels." I didn't sleep. How could I? I just sat there, listening to my sister's breathing and the thudding of my own heart. The sounds started just before dawn. At first it was low, almost subliminal, a deep, resonant humming. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. It wasn't mechanical. It sounded organic, like the thrumming of a giant insect or the purr of a massive
Lily sat bolt upright. "What's that sound?" "I don't know," I whispered. The hum grew louder, making my teeth vibrate slightly. It wasn't just a sound. You could feel it. I looked out the window. The weak dawn light was filtering through the canopy, and in the gray light, I saw them. People. In the forest. They weren't on the road. They were moving between the trees, maybe 5 or 6 of them. They wore earth-and-toned clothes, browns, greens, grays. They moved silently, almost gliding. They weren't looking at the car. They were looking up at the trees with a look of reverence, of worship. One of them, a woman with a long gray braid, bent down and placed another wooden doll at the base of a tree. Then they moved on, melting into the woods as if they were a part of it. The humming stopped as abruptly as it began. The silence returned, but now it was worse. It felt expectant. "They're gone," Lily whispered. I didn't know what to say. I knew one thing for sure: we couldn't stay in this car. We waited until the sun was a little higher. I found some crackers and a bottle of water in the car. We ate in silence. My plan was simple. We'd walk back the way we came. Someone was bound to come along. But when I tried to open my car door, it wouldn't open. "What?" I muttered, yanking on the handle. It was stuck. I tried Lily's door. Stuck. The sliding doors. The back hatch. All of them were sealed tight. Not electrically locked. Jammed, as if they'd been welded shut. "We're trapped!" I yelled in panic. I slammed my fist on the window, but it didn't budge. Lily started to cry. "I want Mommy!" I know. Me too. I tried and failed miserably to stay calm. We were trapped. Hopelessly.
That day was the longest of my life. The sun turned the car into an oven. We quickly finished the water. The fear gave way to a dull, exhausted despair. The second night fell, and the humming started again. Hum. This time, it was louder, deeper. It made the entire car vibrate. Lily covered her ears and moaned. I felt it in my chest, a terrible resonance. I looked outside, and my heart nearly stopped. My dad was standing there. He was at the edge of the woods, right by the road. But it wasn't my dad. Not really. He wore the same plaid shirt and khaki pants, but they looked old and faded. His skin had a gray, bark-like pallor, and his eyes, they were empty. He was staring at the car, but he didn't seem to see us. "Dad!" I yelled, banging on the window. "Dad, we're in here!" He didn't react. Then my mom appeared beside him, the same faded, lifeless look. They just stood there, side by side, like two statues. And then I saw it. Sprouting from their backs, from their shoulders and necks, were small green twigs. Tiny leaves were budding from their skin. I screamed, a raw, unmixed scream of pure horror. Lily saw them too. "Mommy? Daddy?" she whispered, her face pressed to the window. My parents turned, in unison, as if controlled by the same hand. They turned their backs to us and started walking into the woods. They moved stiffly, unnaturally. They weren't walking. They were being replanted.
The humming reached a crescendo. It was like a roar now. And then Lily started humming along with it. "Lily, no," I hissed, grabbing her shoulder. But
But she didn't hear me. Her eyes were glazed over, just like our parents. She was staring at one particular tree across the road. Massive one, bigger than all the rest. Its bark was twisted into shapes that looked like screaming faces. "It's beautiful," Lily whispered. "It's calling me." "Lily, snap out of it," I cried, shaking her. She stood up, still in her trance, and walked to her car door. And as she touched the handle, the door, which had been jammed solid, opened easily with a soft click. "No, Lily, don't!" But she was out. She walked across the road, clutching Patches, toward that giant tree. The humming seemed to be coming from the tree itself. I scrambled for my door. It opened too. I launched myself out, chasing after her. "Lily, come back!" She didn't turn. She reached the base of that giant tree, and as she approached, the impossible happened. The bark, the thick, gnarled bark of the redwood, began to ripple. It became soft, pliable, like clay. A vertical seam appeared on the trunk. It wasn't a crack. It opened like a pair of lips. Inside wasn't wood. It was dark and wet, lined with trembling root fibers. The tree was opening for her. Lily wasn't scared. She smiled, a peaceful, happy smile. "It's warm," she said, and she stepped inside. "No!" I shrieked, lunging for her. The bark lips began to close. I was only a few feet away. I could see her small face, still smiling before the darkness swallowed her. The tree sealed itself with a moist, satisfied thump. I fell to my knees, clawing at the now solid bark. "Lily!" I pounded on it until my knuckles were bloody. It was just a tree, a solid, unmoving tree. But it wasn't quite. Just as the tree closed, something small and gray was pushed out from the seam, falling to the ground. It was Patches, the frayed, dirty, stuffed rabbit. It had rejected it. It wasn't organic. It wasn't food. And that's when I snapped. I don't remember what I did next. I just remember running. I ran down the dark road screaming, with only the moon and my terror for company. I ran until I collapsed. A trucker found me the next morning, miles from our minivan, curled up on the side of the road, clutching a dirty stuffed rabbit.
And that's my story. They say I hallucinated. They say my family got lost. But I have proof. I still have Patches. And sometimes, when I'm alone, I can smell it. Not the smell of dust and old fabric, but the smell of damp earth, of pine sap, and of something ancient and hungry. Last night, my new foster mother brought me a new desk for my room. Nice, dark wood with an intricate grain. I was sitting there, doing my homework, trying to be normal. Then I looked closer at the wood grain, at the swirls and the knots, and I saw her just for a moment. In the lines of the wood was a face, a small face with big, round eyes. She was smiling, a peaceful, happy smile. They weren't lost. They were harvested, preserved, and they're everywhere. In the walls, in the furniture, in the trees outside my window. And they're waiting. The final word has been written for tonight, but the whisper pen is never truly silent. Subscribe and return for the next chapter. Good night.